Welcome to the Wolverine Recruiting Show. I am Clayton Sayfie with Holland here from thewolverine.com. You can check our content out at thewolverine.com right now, running a promotion for the holidays. You can use the promo code Nike75. You get 25% off your first year at thewolverine.com, all of our premium content, plus a $75 Nike gift card for Michigan gear, any sort of gear that you want from Nike, Jordan, all that good stuff. So check us out at thewolverine.com. Take advantage of that promotion right now. Perfect for Christmas time. Lots of storylines this week in the recruiting world, and also happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. But a lot of storylines surrounding this week. So let's start with the Rutgers win for Michigan last week. Thrilling triple overtime victory for the Wolverines, 48-42 in Piscataway. And it's Rutgers. It doesn't look like much on the surface, but it quiets down some of that noise coming off of a 3-game losing streak. Shows that there's a little more stability than some people might have thought within the program, and it just kind of overall just calms things down for at least another week. What is the impact? I know you talked to a bunch of recruits right after the game to get their reactions for a story on the Wolverine.com, but just what is the impact recruiting-wise of this win?
Yeah, so I think two things. One, the biggest takeaway is stability. I feel like this is a win that was necessary. Obviously, it wasn't pretty. It was Rutgers, definitely not a traditional power or anything. But they needed this. I mean, had Michigan lost to Rutgers, I feel like we would have started to prepare even more and we're not even preparing all that much, but preparing some for potential decommits. I think things kind of would have gone off the rails with so many question marks about the stability of the coaching staff. That would have just fired up the national media and social media, which kids are on all the time. I would have been really concerned about 2022 with guys like Damani Jackson, Will Johnson, and Isaac Thompson, who are all trending well to Michigan. I would have been really, really concerned about, where those guys would have, stood with Michigan. But they got the win. I think they created a little bit more of a sense of stability. It was important to come away with the win. I think everything is still just fine. On top of that, Michigan has 2 games left, or 2 games coming up that they can win. Penn State, which hasn't won a game, and Maryland, who's basically an equivalent to Rutgers. So if Michigan wins those 2 games and they're above 500 heading into Ohio State, I know that doesn't sound great. We're here sitting, days before Thanksgiving talking about, well, if Michigan can just get to above 500, they'll be fine. That's not what you really want to hear, but it holds true on the recruiting trail. A lot of these kids see themselves as potential difference makers, including big targets like Donovan Edwards has talked about being the hometown hero and potentially being a bell cow early on in his career if he were to side with Michigan. Sierra Wright talked about the need for help at the corner position and potentially making a big impact at Michigan if he were to go there. So the commits have all, expressed, for the most part, expressed how solid they are. So I feel like the Rutgers win helped. I also feel like the way they beat Rutgers helped, even though people were so angry that it was such a close game. It helped because it wasn't, would you rather have had a boring 2020 or 27-21 win, or a triple overtime win where Michigan made some changes and made a quarterback switch and provided some optimism? And where a lot of commits said it was great to see them show some heart and some fire. So I actually think the style of the game, despite it being like a heart attack central for Michigan fans, I feel like actually helped with some of the prospects on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, I guess if you're a defensive recruit, you might want to, you'd rather have a 27-21 game. But yeah, I completely agree. I think the way they won, thrilling victory, they might have found their quarterback at least for the rest of this season. That's some positive news. Obviously, Michigan picking up a win in calming things down on the recruiting trail. A little bit of negative buzz. Negative news is that Rivals 100 Michigan wide receiver commit Xavier Worthy will attend the Iron Bowl this weekend between Alabama and Auburn in Tuscaloosa. Taking a look at Alabama, he's been a kid that's been solid, but you've mentioned it a few times, just how far away he is. There's always going to be concern, and how highly rated he is. There's always going to be some concern with that. Should Michigan fans be afraid of Xavier Worthy going into Tuscaloosa this weekend, and he claims he's still solid to Michigan, but you never know what can happen when he gets on a campus like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Xavier said it's for fun. And, from talking to people around that recruitment, from my previous talks with people around that recruitment, I don't think it's just for fun. I think it's definitely a contingency plan. There's a reason that Michigan immediately hopped on the phone with him on Monday as soon as that news broke. So, yeah, I would be concerned. Obviously, there is concern coming out of the Xavier Worthy camp about stability as for the rest of the commits. I think anybody being recruited to play at Michigan right now has at least some stability concerns. With Xavier being so far away, with him having such a really strong relationship with Josh Gaddis, for example, if Josh Gaddis it comes out in the next few weeks that he's really, really on the hot seat, that'll be a huge negative for Xavier Worthy, and I wouldn't expect him to sign with Michigan. So I think a lot of it has to do with Josh Gaddis and his status as far as how long he'll be at Michigan, whether he's in the plans for the future. Now, if Gaddis if they make it clear to him that Gaddis is part of the plans, if he, everything goes fine, then I think Xavier will sign with Michigan. I think Michigan is plan A, but with so many question marks, he wants to see what else is out there. Alabama has continued to recruit him. They've had success with receivers like him. It's a little ironic that Josh Gaddis has compared him to Devontae Smith, and now he gets to go see Devontae Smith in action. So, Bama, like I said, Bama's Bama. They have stability there with Nick Saban. Even though they have some assistant turnover, they always seem to find great assistants to fill in. So I don't think coaching's going to be a question mark there. Obviously, they win all the time, and they've produced a ton of big time receivers. Now, Gaddis had some to do with that. Obviously, being the offensive coordinator there not too long ago, which he's definitely sold to Xavier. Hence why he's compared him to Devontae Smith. But you have to understand, Alabama's just a NFL factory. I mean, they can sell X number of receivers over Nick Saban's entire tenure there. So honestly, I just think that it's something to really watch. I think Xavier wants to be at Michigan. I think his mom wants to be at Michigan. His family wants to be at Michigan. But at the same time, anytime you have a situation like this, you're a top 100 recruit remember, Xavier blew up late. He didn't even make visits. Like, anytime you're a top 100 recruit and you have an opportunity to be recruited by these types of schools in a situation that Michigan is in, you would be dumb not to do it, I feel like.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. I mean, there's cause for concern, but at the same time, right now Michigan has Jim Harbaugh, has Josh Gaddis, so we'll see what happens with the future. Some better news: a guy visiting, another commit that is visiting, but actually visiting Michigan, the place he's committed to. Loui Hansen, Rivals 100 tight end commit out of New England. Any thoughts on that? A guy that's just completely locked in and just wanted to get another look at the University of Michigan.
Yeah, I just talked to Louis like 5 minutes before we recorded this show. So yeah, he told me he's 100% locked in. He's making this visit in large part because he wants his mom to see Michigan. The last time he was on campus was actually more than a year ago. He went to the Big House Barbecue. So, and that was just with his dad. So he really wants his mom to get to see Michigan. And he didn't make it last weekend, or not last weekend, but the weekend before for the big visit weekend, because he had a team 7-on-7 thing. Since they're not playing games in Massachusetts, they had a team 7-on-7 tournament. So he didn't want to miss that. And he really wanted to get kind of an individual, personalized look at Michigan, kind of like what Xavier Worthy did. So, it would have been cool to have him out there and meet some of the guys. But at the same time, I think Louis is completely solid. He's going to sign in December, regardless of any type of staff turnover. And I don't think Sharon Moore's position coach is going anywhere. So I think Louis is completely locked in and is really excited to get another look at Michigan.
And then the last storyline of the week, a huge 2022 target, Will Johnson, 5-star out of Grosse Pointe South, releases a top 5, Michigan included, I'm looking at it right here. Pretty cool graphic. Ohio State, Arizona State, Oklahoma, and USC, the other four. There's been some positive buzz around Will Johnson, who was on campus just a couple weekends ago during that visit that you just talked about, in Michigan, now in his Final Five.
Yeah, so I think Michigan has done a really good job of recruiting Will. Obviously, like you said, he was on campus, 2 weeks ago for the big visit weekend. So he got to bond with some of the other guys. He got to spend a lot of time with Damani Jackson. And so I think that visit helped a lot. It helped Will feel more comfortable. His father, Dion, obviously played at Michigan, as we've stated on a number of occasions. And I think Michigan just needs to give them a reason to end up at Michigan. And so I actually put in a future cast in favor of Michigan for Will. I think Michigan leads, but at the same time, they have to continue to win. Like I said, if they can get above 500 heading into Ohio State, I think that'll help. With all of that said, things can fluctuate with such a high profile recruit like Will. He's still set on making visits to Ohio State and Oklahoma before making a decision. And I think anything can change once he gets on those campuses. But for right now, I think Michigan has the lead there and is trending. But obviously, it's tough to put in future casts and have a ton of confidence just because, whenever you have a stability situation like this, it's tough to really gauge what can happen in the future. So having foresight is key in recruiting, and it's tough to do so in this situation.
If you're still with us, hit that like button, subscribe, follow our content at thewolverine.com. Use the promo code Nike75. You get a free $75 Nike gift card and 25% off your first year subscription at thewolverine.com. I said at the top, happy Thanksgiving. We're actually recording this just before Thanksgiving. Comes out on Friday, so hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. We'll catch you next time here on the Wolverine Recruiting Show.